The Barbary Wars consisted of two conflicts between the United States, Sweden, Sicily, and the Barbary States. These wars were mainly due to piracy and disruption of American trade that was encouraged by the Barbary States. The Barbary Corsairs had been operating throughout the Mediterranean Sea and Atlantic Ocean since the 1600s, capturing British ships and enslaving crew members or demanding ransom for their return. After the end of the Revolutionary War in the early 1780s, the Barbary pirates began attacking American shipping since they no longer had the protection of the British Navy. The US had disbanded its navy by this point, so it had no options besides paying tribute to protect American shipping from attacks, which it did in 1786. However, by 1794 tribute amounts had grown steadily higher, rising to the point where they ended up costing about a fifth of the federal budget, which increased the financial strain on a country already struggling with debt from the Revolutionary War. Many Americans felt that the tribute money could be better spent on a fleet to defend merchant shipping, so with the support of President George Washington, Congress authorized the creation of the United States Navy and 6 frigates in order to stop the continued piracy. Thomas Jefferson strongly supported this idea, and after his election to the presidency in 1800, this more aggressive stance became further adopted. After Jefferson was inaugurated as president in 1801, the Pasha of Tripoli demanded a tribute equal to roughly a third of the federal revenue. Jefferson stuck to his beliefs and refused the demand, which caused the Pasha to declare war on the U.S. on May 10, 1801. Jefferson had sent a few ships to Tripoli before he learned that war had broken out with the intent of giving gifts and letters to maintain peace with the Barbary powers. However, after war was declared, he instructed the squadron to join the Swedish flotilla in blockading Tripoli and protecting American shipping against potential aggression. One of the first battles fought during the war was between the American schooner Enterprise and the Corsair Tripoli on August 1, 1801, which was a one-sided victory by the Enterprise. The naval blockade continued throughout 1802 and 1803 as many of the Navy's best ships were deployed to support it. On October 31, 1803, the USS Philadelphia ran aground on a reef while patrolling Tripoli's harbor. The Tripolitan Navy was able to capture the ship and her crew, and then turn the Philadelphia into a floating gun battery that could be used against the U.S. warships. This proved to be problematic for the U.S. patrols, so on February 26, 1804, a group of U.S. Marines led by Lieutenant Stephen Decatur approached the Philadelphia aboard a stolen Tripolitan vessel. They were able to deceive Tripolitan lookouts and board the Philadelphia, where they overpowered the guards and set fire to the ship, thereby preventing its use in the future. The next major action took place on July 4, 1804, when the U.S. Navy attacked Tripoli's harbor, including an attempt to use a fire ship that would sail into the enemy fleet, explode, and destroy it. However, this attempt was not successful. The turning point in the war came in the spring of 1805 when a group of U.S. Marines and mercenaries from nearby nations attacked and captured the Tripolitan city of Derna. This campaign began on March 8, 1805, when the force of 500 men left Alexandria, Egypt, to march across the North African desert towards Derna. The journey took 50 days, and at times supplies ran low and the mercenaries threatened a mutiny. However, near the end of April, the expedition was able to reunite with American warships and resupply. On April 27th, the U.S. forces and their allies began their assault on Derna. The forces split into two in order to attack the city, and U.S. warships near the coast provided supporting fire. A charge toward the harbor fortress under heavy fire caused the defenders to flee, and the rest of the city was soon captured. This marked the first time that the United States flag had been raised in victory on foreign land. The capture of Derna helped give American negotiators bargaining power to obtain the release of hostages and the end of the war. Given the fall of Derna and the constant blockade and raids, Tripoli signed a treaty ending the conflict on June 10, 1805. This included a swap of prisoners between the two sides. The First Barbary War proved to be helpful for development of the American military command and its ability to fight a war far from home. It also helped solidify the U.S. Navy and Marines into a permanent part of the American government. However, by 1807, Barbary Corsairs had resumed their disruption of and attacks on American shipping. The U.S. was distracted by rising tensions with Britain and the War of 1812, but turned its attention back toward the Barbary States in 1815. On March 3, 1815, Congress authorized the use of naval force against Algiers. The first engagement of the Second Barbary War came shortly after the American naval squadron departed Gibraltar for Algiers. On June 17, 1815, the squadron met and captured the flagship of the Algerine Navy, the frigate Mashuda, in the Battle of Cape Gata. They also captured an Algerine brig in the Battle of Cape Palos. The American squadron reached Algiers in the end of June and started negotiations. The treaty signed on July 3, 1815, returned all American captives and removed the need for American shipping to pay any further tributes to the Barbary States. The power of the Barbary States sharply declined after this treaty was signed, given that the major European powers were no longer in conflict and could focus more intently on them.